GIF, thank God it's flat. My name is Josh Corey. We've got John, James, Walt, Adam. Rob is probably listening somewhere or running around with the family. But we miss him.
Yeah, we do.
He says he's on his lunch break.
Hey, there's Rob right there in chat. Speak of the devil and the devil shall appear. Same with
Great
Rob.
stuff.
Speak of the bogan.
There once was a boat.
So I found some stuff. I was going through files on my computer. Let's get this going here first. James should recognize this. Just a little shell to add to the background. But I found this from I guess last year. I thought it was kind of funny.
We had Josh Corey on, who's the flat earther. He looks just like you would think. Not crazy, just very serious. Mm-hmm. I mean, everything I say. He's a conspiracy guy, and you either loved him or you love hating him. I love Josh Corey. He is so great. Oh, because he's so smart. He knows everything about a topic, but he doesn't drink the Kool-Aid. Yeah. When you say, do you really think that they're ancient spiders wearing human meat jackets that set up? And he's like, not really. But if you want to know, here are all the facts.
So I thought that was real nice.
Codename Headed Bob.
That was awesome.
That's awesome. Well, I brought up a little blast from the past myself, so take it for a second. I will pull it up for you.
All right, so we were talking, I guess, last week about our friend Jimmy Jean, who hosts a show called Into the Microcosm over there on Truth Frequency Radio on Saturday nights at midnight Pacific. And he told us a story about a time that he died and he came back. And he came back with some knowledge. And basically the way he broke it down for us was just this little saying. And it was, when someone asks you how you're doing, you just tell them, it can't get no better. I was talking to Jimmy the other night, and he broke it down in more of an advanced class. He said it's not just, the words and saying it. Well, of course there is power in that, but it's also about your heart. You have to understand that where you are, literally, is the best spot for you, and that it can't get any better than where you are right now. And it's learning to have that heart of gratitude and being present and in the moment. When you say it can't get no better, you have to really accept that where you are right now, it can't get no better. And then from there, let the chips fall where they may.
And then you get handed the free stuff.
Well, I'm pretty sure that's not how it works, but it may not hurt to try the lottery.
No, it's so true, and it reminds us. I know you're cut from the same cloth there, but it reminds me of practicing the attitude of gratitude when we were younger, and going through reform programs, and grounding ourselves and being in the moment. Whether it's by using your senses, your core basic senses, to put yourself into the weather, whether it's cold or you get the picture, but.
Yeah, I mean, whether your sponsor makes you sit down and work some steps, you got to make a list of things you're grateful for,
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I'm grateful for
my dealer, my stash,
the escalator's
I'm
broken.
grateful for what we've done, guys. I'm grateful for meeting you guys and for this crazy journey I've been on with y'all. We have grown. We have made some things. We've changed a lot. So from humble beginnings, see if this flashes back anybody.
Are you sharing your audio, Walt?
You're not hearing it?
Not only that, it's slightly wider below the equator than
now.
Yeah, I'm hearing it.
A little chubbier.
A little chubbier.
Yeah.
Chubby's a good.
Was Neil part of IRM back in the day? Is that what you're saying, Walt?
This is a blast from the past.
can we play James's video later as well?
You all right?
For Rob.
I watch.
Questions previous users have asked. And when you type "is the moon," it adds real.
Shout out to Mike. For sure, for sure.
Man, killed it. MS, you know who you are.
Yes, sir, brother. Holla back at us sometime. All right. I think I stopped sharing now.
To compose himself, maybe some of the other gentlemen too, so we'll just leave it at that.
Boy, that really dates it though, doesn't it? Iron Dash.
Iron Dash. I know I laughed when I saw that. That was too good.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. We grew up, we actually have IronRealmMedia.com.
You know, that reminds me, I just sent a message to JT today. It's funny we have all this stuff coming up.
Oh,
I was just scrolling through a bunch of old rooms we had on Twitter. Like, ooh.
Yeah, that's this week I've been trying to like clean up and get some of that either active again or get them all back in another spot again. Apparently I'm still not doing it right, but we'll get it figured out.
So Tyrone, if you're listening, you gotta hit us up.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir. For sure. For sure.
I think we could. It's safe to say he probably left for a girl. I mean, I think that's what happened, but it's usually what happens.
Well, he just left. I don't know.
Huh?
His WordPress site went down probably about 6-8 months ago. So if we were still using iron-realm.com, then it would be down. But he's still, I think, sharing things. It looks like he's getting at least third-party shares on Twitter. So he's still alive down in South Africa. So
there we go.
At least he's okay, or somebody's using his Twitter stream. Either way.
Great work.
He's all right.
I think we should just give a shout out to all those people, all those players, all those workers, whether they be true or not, who have come on the show in the past couple of years. And we tip your hats to you.
Man, I must be taxing my system a lot. I'm going to turn my camera off. It's slowing me down. I hear you guys stuttering.
All right.
No, now we got the baby faces gone.
You're so
Yeah,
silly.
I don't know where that maudlin feeling just came from, guys, or I don't know that reminiscence. But I enjoyed meeting Benjamin. It was good.
That was amazing.
It was good.
It was a lot of fun.
I definitely got some insights I was not expecting, actually, completely
Very
from left field stuff. Very, very amazing stuff. So I can't wait to get him back and pick his brain some more. That man has, I mean, I knew he had a wheelhouse of things just to offer, but I had no clue. Just, that's some Jedi, some Jedi teachings there.
Just to me it was just fascinating too, the level of detail that these people, or at least the way he portrayed it, that goes into keeping current on top of everything and how they incorporate that, and it's fascinating stuff, man. Loved it.
No, it was super interesting, and really just the parallels that he draws, I think, are great.
I was kind of looking forward to having Adam and John and us kind of maybe kick around some of his questions, but I don't know. Maybe we could answer some questions from chat today or something if you're still hot.
What's you on about, chat? What was did Math Powerland Mrs. try and invite Math on tonight, or
are they back?
They are busy editing right now. She said that they should have some free time later. At least that's what was said in chat. We'll see if anything comes about. I told her, we're working on going on our 13th hour, because this was probably about an hour in, I suppose. So we're going on our 13th hour. I said, we'll see what it's like after the show, and I'm pretty sure I sent a message. See, now I can't even remember. But I'm pretty sure I hit return on that. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. I guess that's one of those I would probably have to stay awake for, just to record something or pop in, say hello at least.
Well, yeah.
I think I'd sooner go next week.
But I was about to suggest that too. Fresh mind might be better.
That'd be smart.
Because this mind has been going for some hours now.
You just got my mind going, because I hadn't heard anything from those two since Vegas. Wasn't that almost a year and a half ago? I thought they just kind of disappeared, but I guess they're still making stuff, eh?
Oh, no, yeah, they're still going live. They're still doing live streams.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Cool. Okay. I guess if you're listening, just hit us up. We'll see what we can work out.
Hey, James, I will say this. When I went back to, because she had asked, did I have their notifications turned on? Because I didn't know some of the stuff that had been going on. And when I went to go check to see if I had my notifications turned on, I had been unsubscribed from their channel. And I went through checking my subscriptions. And I was unsubscribed for a lot of channels that I, without a doubt, was subscribed to. So yeah, they're not just shadow banning and messing with, throttling us down. They're
Not
They're in there
to
messing with your
say
stuff.
anything, but like literally, I finally broke 10,000 subscribers, and I've been at 9,500 for a year almost. Like it's they're horrendous. So when I looked at it, Crow77, I was unsubscribed from. I wasn't getting notifications even on Iron Realm when you just to get those notifications. Like it's crazy, man. I'm sick of it.
So what's the plan then, guys? Are we
let's go flat.
Let's go flat.
You Maroonian bastard.
Well, I had a video I wanted to send to you guys before we talked about it, and I'm going to do that here in just a moment. But it definitely is timely in wake and in light of us having Crow on last week. It's something I've actually kind of looked at myself over the last couple of months, just trying to say, I want to be able to say I've looked at all possibilities and all of this research we do. And, we've talked about it a bit on the show or even maybe in chat, that some of the things that we're seeing, the lunar wave, some of the patterns that look very liquid that are happening with like Mercury and Venus and things like that could be atmospheric, or I guess atmoplanic. Sorry, didn't mean to say the ugly word. Atmoplanic things happening, turbulence in the actual air between the cameras or the telescopes and what's being viewed. Well, this video I'm going to send to you guys actually is pretty, it goes into that pretty deeply, and it's pretty interesting. I definitely want to hear your take on it. Now, it goes, at the end of the video, it goes completely on a course I wasn't expecting. I'm sending it to you right now, and I won't try to play it on my system, because when I did that after this last time, it almost shut me down. My computer won't handle all this multitasking. But I'm about to send it to you guys here.
Whoa, what are you talking about? Are you saying supposition for atmospheric compressed density of moisture in the air is an explanation for the wobble or a lunar wave, or even?
That's... Okay, I'll just tell it to you. In the video, this suggestion is made by a space website, which is in the video. I'm not gonna missay which one it is because I can't remember. I don't want to misspeak. But it essentially says that the shadow from a lunar eclipse, are you hearing me? The shadow produces a wake in the atmosphere, like a bow wave in the atmosphere. Now that's the one I wanted you guys to put your heads around. I'm not quite getting that in their big scheme of things. It's 237,000 miles away.
A shadow.
In our model, where it's just right up there, then I could see there being a bow wave or a whatever wave being created atmospherically or atmoplanically. God, I gotta get these words right.
We thought that though for a while because
it's not in my history.
Across, right? It would be, it's local, moving up, picking up forces and attracting forces as it spins around us, or wobbles. I just want to say too, I want to touch on YouTube and censorship again. So absolutely. I put out a video this week that highlights our very own Rob, and YouTube has just deemed it very unfit for any sort of public consumption. They're having it. Apparently, it's not fit for commercial.
Well, it is Rob. I mean,
yeah. Wow.
It's horrible though. Like they literally just. I don't even know how they're doing it. I mean, I know the one video had over 11. It has over 11,000 views on his channel, and I don't know anything that it's offensive about the video that I put out. So, but apparently that it violates the YouTube guidelines. So we'll see. Next, they're going to be pulling gyroscope videos for being communist or something, or it's cyber warfare.
It's John there.
This is pretty crazy. The video I'm looking for is no longer in my YouTube history. It apparently has been deleted since I watched
ghosted.
I mean, I'm not. This is insane. I know it was just really as we were getting into the show, I was watching it, and that's why I didn't want to pull it on y'all. But it's just too much. I couldn't when we started talking.
They're literally scrubbing all evidence of the moon. Look at what Crow's been going through. I mean, last week was a huge eye opener. It was a little bit more of the depth of that they're going for that guy, and all traces of the moon and the waves and the.
It's gone. Just watched it, and it's not in my history. Okay, I'll find it though. So, because I remember the name of the channel that it came from, so it'll take me a minute to get the. Aha, that looks like it.
Anyway, shout out to you, Rob. I miss you, brother.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, I wanted Rob on this week as well.
I know. I would have loved to have had him with this sports talk.
One of the things I'd watched this week was the Aurora Australis. So the same as the Northern Lights, but the Southern Lights. The Serbian Conspiracy's done another good video comparing stuff in terms of southern movements and stuff. And I wanted to know if he'd ever seen anything. It's I don't know if you guys have seen that this week.
No, I haven't.
No, but I know on the other end.
I heard you talking about it. Yeah.
They're trying to listen to see if they make noise. They're rigging very sensitive like sound equipment and recorders to try and see if there's any merit to the rumor that the lights have noises and they can speak to you like the natives thought, or or that there was some kind of noise associated with the light waves.
Oh, what's that?
I want to create a stunning website. I've already.
Well, that was. Not quite sure. Switched over.
We're doing adverts.
Only promos.
Stacking those shield books.
What are you talking about?
You're
the commercial, Walt.
So can you explain it then? Now the video's gone, can you tell us more? So basically, what the?
No, I went to the actual channel and got it. It's coming.
Of the moon. Okay, cool.
It'd be headed to you first if you want to just pop it in, and this is up to you completely. I'm not sure if it'll
play, and then it'll pop up, and everybody will call me a shill because I'm throwing adverts up. Yeah.
Oh, I forgot there's an advert on it. My goodness.
No, I don't mind. It's cool.
But again, it takes a left turn at the end that is completely off the wall, and I wasn't expecting. I was just really interested in the atmoplanic information that it was imparting.
You got timestamps for me?
Just from the very first bit, it really goes into it pretty quickly. Just from, you could stop once we get into the actual explanation of this phenomena. Probably like 6 minutes, 8 minutes in, I would guess. They're going to show, the wave and things, but it's going to actually go into the idea of the bow wave being created by shadow of the moon.
See, that's what does my head in, Walt, right?
I don't get it.
When they use phrases like that, right? This to me says just bullshit.
Okay, well, that's what I wanted you to say.
Because they're using a phrase like bow wave as if it has some implication. It gives you an imagery, but in terms of what they're talking about atmospherically, what there's no detail there. They just give you an image of something you understand and try and say.
Dude, it could be a name Mrs. Bouquet made up for all I care. Like, what is that? It's a bow wave, Henry.
Yeah.
And then, funny.
I wanted to get your brains on it because mine is punch drunk from the day. I mean, I took all those $5 slaps. And
a lot of you may be familiar with this channel, Crow777. Had a lot of hits on his Lunar Wave series of videos, which are very interesting.
I can only see the live chat, I can't see the screen.
pondering over this for a couple of weeks now.
Really?
And I've watched a lot of his videos, which are
That's all right.
well
I'll
made.
fix
And
that for you.
the guy's a genuinely sort of nice
Hopefully.
guy. But I've done a bit of delving into what I thought this might be, and I've been trying to think about this and maybe figure out whether it is hologram or maybe it's something else. So what I did, I took a copy of the video, and I got it up in my video processor. I'm just going to show you his video up here. I'll put it full screen. I'll just quickly show you that now. I'll just show you a quick section of that. Okay.
Cool. Cheers, Josh.
Can anybody else see anything?
You can see the wave coming up now. I'm just going to pause it there. Now it's up here by this crater here, or whatever it is, this large black spot.
I can, James, for what it's worth.
I'm going to go back a tiny bit, and we're just going to watch that again.
Thanks, bro.
There we are, right near the top of the page.
Hi, Candy.
Okay. Right. Now it's pretty visible in this full screen shot here. So I'm going to go to my video processor. Now what I've done is I've loaded it up into here. I've copied a section of his video, and I've loaded it up into this Movie Maker software here. And what I've done is I've selected Edge Selection, which is basically the only way I can really show what's going on outside of the circumference of the moon here. Now, in order to ascertain whether this wave is on or around the moon, what you need to do really, or what people need to do, is to look at the area either side of the moon, the dark space area, and see if this wave extends beyond the edge of the moon as we see it. Now this is his logo here, so ignore that sort of bird wing there sticking out and that tail sticking out. But what I want you to pay attention to are these squares, external squares. Now what those are slightly lighter patches of black in space.
I can see it now.
And because this is a compressed file, they're coming up as squares.
Well done.
It's basically a detection piece of software that lets you see stuff that you cannot normally see. It kind of turns it negative and then really kind of goes in for the edges and shows them. And you've got to adjust the brightness settings to get this to come out, because otherwise the problem is the wave does seem to extend beyond the circumference of the moon. And I'm going to play that. Okay, now let this run through a minute. I want you to concentrate. Here comes the wave. He's panned it, the camera. Now the wave's come back up here, and I'll follow it up with my cursor here. Now look at this here. Right, okay. Let's go back a little bit. Now I want you to concentrate on my cursor here in this top right corner. Look at these pixels here and see how they move when the wave goes past. See? Okay, I'm just going to do that again. It's not easy to see this, I appreciate that, but go back a bit further this time. Now concentrate on that top right corner and look at these square and rectangular pixel shapes in that corner. Listen, coming up now. Now it does seem that they are affected by this apparent lunar wave. Okay, so what's happening here? So I did a bit of delving into this, and I did kind of think that it was maybe caused by the Earth's atmosphere, and not by the wave is not actually on the moon or around the moon at all. It's between the Earth and the moon, and it's actually I looked it up, I googled it, and come up with some results, and I've got them here. There's a number of articles here. Now this was discovered a while ago. I mean, this article is dated 2011, but actually this phenomenon is not on the moon at all. It's caused during the lunar eclipse when the shadow of the moon affects the atmosphere of the Earth and causes a kind of bow wave. They call it a bow wave. Now, I will read you some of this stuff here, but I won't read it all out. I'll have links to all this in the video in the description. So you can check these articles out. There's a number of them here. I've got a Wikipedia page up here about lunar eclipses. I'll have links to all this. There is a scientific paper here which was written many years ago predicting this phenomenon, which I think was only really proved in 2009. And I think actually Crow 77 may be one of the first people to actually capture this on video, on film, and get it up on YouTube. So, I mean, it is a very, very interesting phenomenon, and it does kind of make it look a bit like there is a hologram on the moon's surface. But I'm afraid that I don't want to rain on this parade too much there, but I'm afraid that these articles really do explain it very well. The moon's shadow, like a ship, creates waves in Earth's atmosphere, and it goes into great detail here how.
Just pause it a second, Josh.
Really?
The advert's gone. Just a
detail
sec.
here how the shadow, as it
Wheel up.
across the
Wheel up, selector.
So we're sticking with the bow wave analogy, and before we go further, I mean, I might be right. I don't know what I'm on about. I'm just trying to understand what he's saying so far. So he's supposing that the shadow affects the atmosphere in some way as to create almost like dropping a stone in a pond, a ripple.
That's the part I couldn't wrap my head around, is how the shadow supposedly affects it in the heliocentric model.
I can understand a thermodynamic explanation that the change because of the shadow creates that. I've got no problem with that. But then a ripple emanates from the point of creation and leaves. It continues to. It doesn't have an effect at the point where you drop the stone in. It continues to have an effect away from that point. So it would seem strange that this bow effect or ripple would. Where is it affecting you? Does it travel around the? And do you know what I mean? A ripple on a flat plane doesn't come back, does it? It might do on a globe, but realistically, if it's an atmospheric effect, that small atmospheric inference it applies would be diluted by the time it even returned on a globe, and it would be hard for it to return on a flat plane, wouldn't it? Does that make any sense?
Not. You're talking about like it would have to hit another place and come back, or it would have to go around the globe. Is that what you're saying? See, I don't think it's that big of an effect. I think it's more in. I guess in that model it would have to be that big an effect in the globe model, but I mean, just things I've watched and seen. Just different things. I mean, when I would go out and look at the moon in my telescope and I would breathe out and the fog would go in front of the scope and I would see things change. I thought that through and okay, well, then if the atmoplane is being affected by some type of whatever up there. I mean, it could be an energy related thing. It could be electromagnetically related thing. It could be liquid space related thing, but it seemed to be very similar to what I was seeing that was a thermodynamic related thing. I just sent Josh another little video that I took as I was walking up the steps. The sun was rising behind me and there was a heat exhaust pipe sticking out of the shed where the water heater is, and the waves of heat that I couldn't see with my eyes were actually making a shadow effect happen on the wall in front of me. And that's really when I was going like, wow, there's so much going on with this atmoplane we just don't understand apparently. So, and then I see this video today and it was like, wow, that's the exact thing I saw 3 days ago on my wall there. So
yeah, that's what I was going to say.
really,
I see the same thing in my car, actually. Like if my driver window is down and I can look out my passenger window, I can see the waves of atmoplane, the air molecules sort of, and the difference in their densities, right? So it's almost creating shadows, or because it's denser, it's harder to see through, so it's darker. and the less dense is easier to see through, so it's lighter, and then you can look at the shadows opposite and see the different densities in the air. And that's what this looks like to me, other than the fact that it's that one single straight cohesive line the entire way.
That's the thing that I keep going back to too, is that whole the straight line, the edge of it. That's really the part that I can't figure out.
No, that's the way I understood it, was the shadow was causing a difference in temperature. Yeah, because it's the shaded versus the unshaded, and it's that difference in temperature that's then causing that refraction, sort of because of the different densities in the air. And that's what was causing it, not necessarily like a ripple, or I don't know. That's the way I took it. Maybe I misunderstood.
Yeah, more like a wave, not like a ripple. Well, I don't know. Some of the Venus footage looks ripply, so I don't know, man. That's what I'm trying to figure out. That's what this whole thing is about, trying to figure it out.
I'm not denying the ripple. We can see the ripple. It's observable. What I'm suggesting is that I don't think the ripple occurs in the atmosphere plane. I think there's too many other variables that even if the moon was doing as what this is, and we've yet to listen to the rest of it, but if it was doing that, there's so many other parameters that would negate it. I think whatever's happening is happening between the atmosphere and the moon. I think that we can see it occurs over the moon, and I think it's, for want of a better analogy, and I don't postulate it, but for want of a better analogy, if you think of the Hennessy advert in terms of going in and hitting the dome of liquid, awesome. And if you think about that wave occurring in that medium, which is sat above the atmosphere plane, I think that's what we're observing, because I think to try and observe it, the other thing is, when we talk about the atmosphere plane, we talk about looking through it and there's so much liquid and it acts like a liquid, and it does in that distance that you view it through. But to suggest that that wave would occur in a linear motion through the atmosphere plane directly through your viewpoint, I think also is a suggestion that the wave isn't happening in the atmosphere plane air that we're postulating it's occurring above that level, and it's in an intermediary medium between the moon and the atmosphere plane.
I mean, I can see that. Walt, you got nothing? Yeah.
No, absolutely, man. Like, how long ago was I talking liquid space? I mean, I'm just looking at all the possibilities. That's what this whole thing is about for me. If I don't look at everything, I'm not being honest with myself, and I'm sure they're not being honest with the people I'm trying to explain some of these things to. So if I don't look at all of it, I can't be objective about what I think about it. I guess I don't know.
Wise words.
Just me.
I like the idea, Adam. I think you explained it really well.
Absolutely.
I would say, though, as John Savage would say, we don't have a fucking clue what's up there still. And we should just literally focus on stuff that we cannot observe and we can retest for ourselves.
I think the point I would just kind of make again is that in the atmosphere, plane, sphere, whatever, it's very, very, very dynamic. And what this video appears to be postulating is that this shadowing effect is having a significant effect locally. Now, for it to do that, like I said, it seems impossible to act significantly through all the layers of the atmosphere, but it would seem reasonable to postulate that if we're suggesting that after the atmosphere there is a fluid medium, that actually that possibly could have a local cooling effect, especially as the other factors from our limited knowledge would appear to be fairly well regulated and constant. So when a shadow between what is otherwise a stirring mechanism of that liquid occurs, you would maybe see something of a rippling effect if it was created in a medium that's more affectable by that.
Look what you've already shown, Adam, on a very small but tightly controlled stage, is that temperatures are coming from the moon and cooling temperatures are coming. So it would make sense, if Enoch is correct, and a lot of people in the movement think he might be correct, that the sun and moon are on a separate track than the winds. So it's all starting to make a little sense, maybe.
I think they're totally exclusive, the winds and the... Whatever model you believe in, the celestial objects are contained outside of the atmosphere plane, aren't they?
I agree. I think a lot of us can agree on that. But it just takes me back to a convo me and you had years ago, almost, Adam, about helicopters in the atmosphere. And I mean, just to, because I've been for week after week after week pitching like simple, and I'm going simple again. But it's so idiotic and phallitic, if that's even a word, that we're just brainwashed into believing that these atmospheres can happen on the edge of space and the edge of this vacuum, and that we can have breezes and clouds and tornadoes, and yet we're spinning and whizzing around. Like, that's the biggest fucking work of all. We've been worked hard on that. That is such a simple proof to say, like, this is impossible. This is impossible. Just this wind alone and the atmosphere and where it should end and should begin, and how can the water droplets on the leaf remain this way, and yet, you know, a water hose spinning it even on a trolley at 3 miles sprays everywhere. It's mind-boggling. Anyways, that's my ranty rant again.
My favourite one that always demonstrates that the best for me, James, is the volcano plume.
Go on, brother, preach it.
Well, when you see the, I don't know which volcano, but if you see volcano plumes, they go up, and they go up straight, and they explode over 2-3 hours as they go up. So the level of movement, and there is no, and to try and suggest gravity could hold all of those small particles and not only pull them down, but translate them laterally is just a nonsense of the rotation of the atmosphere. And to try and suggest that on, even if you did allow gravity, that it could
well
hold.
Said, dude, brother, that's it. And let alone the impact of the explosion. Remember how ridiculous when we got into it with super volcanoes, how the megaton wattage could actually disrupt the spin of the Earth. But yet, no, we never see that.
Well, no, that's a good example of mathematical bullshit, isn't it? That's one of those things that somebody in a maths and a physics office sits down and goes, okay, we've worked out the megaton explosion. Let's translate that as a force applied to the theoretical spinning ball Earth. Now, at what angle does it oppose the spin? Therefore, what lateral force is? Mathematically, if it did this, what effect would it have? It's all just it's a great exemplar of how you can prove nonsense. Do you know what I mean? With mathematics, you can show that would affect it. We know the explosion occurred. We know that the Earth didn't change its spin. If you want to use the mathematics and apply it in any way, it didn't make the Earth slow down.
Gravity couldn't contain the explosion. It fucking blew the lava to smithereens, and just like your favorite evil factory, the smoke plume goes straight up.
Well, yeah, but none of that theoretical mathematics existed in reality. What happened in reality was there was a ground explosion on a flat plane that went up. It didn't apply a force to alter the spin of the Earth or alter its trajectory, which, in theory, if it was a spinning ball Earth, it should have done, and it would have been measurable.
Not only that, I've seen it. I've been to Hawaii. I've done the helicopter tour. I've seen the only thing that affects those things, Adam, are winds on our plane. Like the actual winds will blow the smoke around a bit, depending on what the weather is like. But none of the other stuff is ever observable. I love that one picture from the airplane high above that shows the rocket going straight up too. Again, the plume. Remember that one? Just so many impossible things that we accept as truth. Anyways, I'll shut up. Talking too much.
I wouldn't say that, James. How did we get there anyway on that? That was...
Because we're fringing, man. We're fringing.
I had to do the back to basics thing again.
Shout out to BRB in chat.
Billy Ray.
And Zach. Good times for all. I see you there as well.
Nice.
So while we're
I was
fringing,
trying to play on chat, but I got confused and quit because I can't multitask.
I was wondering what that was all about.
Yes, I gave up.
I got the mouse in my pocket.
By the way, a volcano did blow up just the other day, yesterday or 2 days ago. So maybe I'll look at some footage of that to see the plume.
In a whole different chat area, our buddy Jimmy Jean is floating around. Excuse me, you guys. Hang on, I'm trying to...
What's up, Jimmy?
Yeah, I'm trying to get him in here. Josh, can you do it on your end? I'm having trouble for some reason.
I surely can. You guys want to add Jimmy Jean? I think he's in studio, plugged up.
Yeah, he's getting ready for his show here in a couple hours. He's kind of like us on Friday. He just runs all day.
Yeah, maybe we'll
get him when he came on the show.
He wasn't even on the show. We were just hanging out.
I know. I thought the same thing when I was talking to him earlier today. It's like, well, when you get back on the show, and it's like,
no, I'm telling you.
No, that wasn't a show, James. We were just.
It just felt so good.
That's just
how he rolled. That's
Dude, that was so fun, man. I could have sworn that was live last week.
Nah.
Yeah, that's good to have been here.
Yeah.
Well, before I get serious again, then, if we're fringing,
I'm sure
I just want to give a shout out to Sun and Moon Group again.
Man, that was amazing. Thank you. I had it written down earlier and never got back to it. You guys, I'm so sorry I couldn't get in on that call that night. That was some amazing stuff.
I've got...
Before we get to the boy tech stuff, right, what I wanted to say was the night afterwards, or the night after, I can't remember, they had a kind of a hangout that I thought was just really refreshing to listen to. And it was basically all women, and it was a very refreshing conversation to listen to the tone and the way it was, and the way Flat Earth was discussed. And I know we all sit here, mostly men, all the time, and I just thought it was a really good show for anyone to maybe just go back and listen to. It was
awesome,
a good chat. But then, yeah, me and Josh were on the night before, and I think Josh has put that up now. And one of the things that came out of it, which was Alan, his name was. Is it what's the title? Is it Weedy and the Doc in it, or?
I think it's Weedy the Doc.
Yeah. So he's got a magic car, hasn't he, Josh?
He's got a bunch of magic everything. Magic house, magic car.
So it appears to pick up a certain radio frequency, doesn't it? At a certain hertz, wherever it is. And this
1.21 gigahertz?
Yeah. And he's recording some strange stuff which he describes, poetically as the heartbeat of the earth. Whatever he's picking it up, like I said, I think there's a lot of analysis that needs doing on it. because they're the bit you'll play here. So just play it. It doesn't have a regular pattern from what you can hear, but I think over time there might be something that's computers might be able to pick up as a regular pattern.
This is like shut down because their ovens blew and they have no burners. They've been shut down since Wednesday.
You having a shower, James?
Sucks for them.
Just gotta catch up on the dishes real quick. Don't mind.
I hope it's a shower. But,
Yeah, like how did Domino's lose their franchise here?
Like, I'm assuming James isn't talking.
James just wandered off.
Yeah,
just mumbling to himself now. So
maybe play the heartbeat then.
Yeah, I'll play what they gave me. They had it. I captured it, beefed it up a little bit in Audacity just so everybody could hear it. And here's what. So really, it doesn't sound like a whole lot, but when you hear what he's doing to get this, and how it's basically these scalar waves that are bouncing back, and they're picking up this heartbeat. Let me go ahead and play.
Wait, I'm so confused.
Didn't you watch Sun and Moon Group?
Not to the end.
Oh, well. Me either. All right. Well, can you see your screen?
Yeah, I have it now.
Right,
Finally,
so
I'm
this
seeing the
is-
screen, so I'm a little less confused now.
So here's what happened. Is I think Z-Proxy took the sound that I made, because I took it, saved it, uploaded it to Google Drive, and shared it in the live chat at the time. Weird. Anyway, we'll find out who that was in a minute.
It was actually me trying to go back to my screen, and I think I hung up on James by mistake, trying to see if I could mute some of his background noise.
Here we go.
So I'm still learning Skype. My goodness, sorry, James.
It's all right, we'll get James back in here. So I think Z-Proxy took my sound file and did some sound analysis on it. So of course I'm going to be a little bit hesitant to put too much into this, just because I know sort of how I beefed up the sound, and I manipulated it a little bit just so it could be heard basically over the air while we were on the Sun and Moon Group, because her version was so faint it was really hard to hear.
That's it. You had gone away to go fix the audio, and that's when that's where I'm at, exactly. Because when you said that, I remembered you had left for some reason, and that's what you had done, for sure.
And this is the audio that came back. And then this is Z-Proxy's analysis of the audio that I brought back. So I don't know how much the fact that I tinkered around with that sound file, it's going to affect what he played there. But that last little part that he played, the first part was the heartbeat that sounded just like the one that I had. And then he ran his sound analysis. And then the second part was his analysis of the frequencies that are out of our earshot. So all those little high-pitched tick-ticks, those were things that we wouldn't be able to hear. Those were out of our frequency. Then I guess I just sort of made a representation into what it would sound like for us. But Yeah, that's what that analysis was. So I don't know if that was something that I did through Audacity, or if that was something that was actually broadcast via the signal. But I know he did say that you could easily spot a carrier wave in that sound file, running from, I think he said 1 kilohertz to like 1.7. But that's just off the top of my head. That was pulling it right out of my butt.
I think, Josh, from the apologetics you just gave there, mate, in terms of the provenance of the recording that's been analysed, I'd really like to see Alan maybe give some kind of recording to Zeb Proxy and see what he could do with it, because there's certainly something there, whatever the hell it is coming through. Is it an FM frequency outside of the standard broadcasting range in Alan's magic car? If that can be recorded and noted at what frequencies it's coming at, it's data that might not mean a lot now, but if you can record at what frequency that's happening, it's got to have some significance to me, even if you don't have an understanding of its purpose now. But I think the data in it's, and I'd like to see, might say, a proper direct recording taken from Herbie. I'm not sure what to call the car.
Well, we actually have someone right here with us that knows a little bit about sound and things like that. Jimmy Jean, are you still with us? Do you have some commentary on this weird audio file, sir?
Yeah, I mean, I could kind of hear it. I mean, I definitely heard the heartbeat. Hey, everybody, how's it going?
Welcome.
Good evening.
Hopefully I'm not coming in too hot.
Again.
No, you're coming in good.
That's good. Old Jimmy's known to come in a little hot every now and then.
That's what I've been telling my girlfriend.
Yeah, so I don't know, man. The thing is with sound, and if you want to look for carrier waves and you want to get involved in examining radio frequencies, you need to have a spectrum analyzer, and you need to set the spectrum analyzer up so for the frequencies that you're looking for, because spectrum analyzers can find any frequency, but if you don't dial it in and set it up correctly, you'll never see a frequency that you're not looking for. So you have to have some sort of a matrix for yourself that you set up as far as frequencies are concerned and which frequencies you're going to be looking for. And then
kind of like what you were saying earlier in our talk about knowing the right search terms.
Exactly.
Sort of the same idea.
Exactly. It's exactly the same thing. Because the thing is like, for example, I used to, when I had my company up and running, I used to build cell sites for Nextel back when they had push to talk. And I was involved in the nationwide rollout of the national push to talk system, where you could do a push to talk in California and you could talk to somebody in New York and would go nationwide. Nextel was the only cell phone company.
The big yellow phones, man, it was like a walkie-talkie feature. Yeah, I remember those. They were even in Ontario, in Canada, where I was, man. They were even called mic phones. Like, go figure.
Well, they were the only cell phone that was encrypted, and that push-to-talk feature was completely encrypted to the point where, for the most part, I did a bunch of really cool jobs for Nextel because I did what's called in-building technology, which is it's a distributed antenna system where you basically take an off-the-air signal, a certain frequency, like what we're talking about is why I'm talking about this. You find a certain frequency that is being broadcast, and then you bring that in and you drop it on an amplifier, and then you distribute that signal throughout the building on little antennas that are, placed strategically in areas that are not getting covered because, in particular, in a city area, for example, like downtown San Francisco, I did a job at there's a bunch of facilities downtown I did work at, and there's a Federal Reserve down there, and I did work there. I did a bunch of work for Next. I did number 1 Market Street. I did a bunch of buildings for them. And, you know, because after 9/11, they passed this law that said people or public safety people needed to be able to use their phones in a building in the event that something happened, be able to find them. So what they did is they had to go around and install all this equipment below ground where the cell phone signals don't go. And so I got real good at understanding how to propagate signal, how to take antennas, how to aim stuff, how to bounce signal off something, you know, what kind of materials can signal penetrate through. I learned all that while I was doing these systems for those guys. And so when I hear the guy saying, you know, he's talking about a carrier wave, there's lots of carrier waves, and it's not just, you know, one carrier wave for everything.
Okay, so, this probably makes you so qualified then, Jimmy, for the next kind of statements he was making. And Josh, you might have a better memory than me in terms of what he's saying. And it was scalar waves, and you're probably more qualified to understand that.
Well, the scalar wave is the same type of. It's sort of what Tesla was working with, and it's been. A lot of different people have come up with theories about what kind of energy was used in prior civilizations to power everything that was going on. And so a lot of people believe that there was scalar wave energy used in this sort of Atlantis type civilizations that they profess might have existed at a certain time. But there's something to do with the transmission of frequencies and energies via these ley lines that are in the skin, or, you know, I like to consider the Earth like a giant facility, you know, and the upper part, the part that we live on, is like the offices. And then the part that's like just below the surface of that is like all the pipes and all the infrastructure that sort of makes everything work. And so in that infrastructure, whichever shape it might be, there's magnetic lines that run through the plane. And those magnetic lines in the past have been used for generating energy and so on and so forth. I mean, because you'll notice that a lot of these civilizations, these past civilizations and these past monuments that are in antiquity around the world were built specifically on these ley line. Okay, so but what happened is at some point something happened with the Earth, and whatever shape it is, something happened and it shifted a little bit. So those old ley lines became dead circuits. So the energy is not propagated through those circuits anymore. And so those places that used to be powerful places where there's these energy vortexes created in the facility, that's why those places were magical.
Absolutely.
I think and I'll stand to be correct. I think he wasn't tapping on any hidden resource. He was generating it himself, but he was using was it amethyst crystals, Josh, he was suggesting he was using to generate this frequency for a scalar wave.
See, that would be perfect, right? Because that ties right in because of the things that they've talked about as far as being able to generate this kind of energy and other types of piezoelectric energy, same kind of generation with granite and salts and different crystalline forms. You know, that's why they use, I think they use, if I could be mistaken on this, so I'm not Mr. Quantum computer, but I'm pretty sure they're using diamonds inside those quantum computers that they have, but I'm not 100% on that. In other words, they can create the crystals. You know, they can artificially create these diamonds. They don't even have to use real diamonds.
Hey, Jimmy, so just going back to the like technical stuff, what do you use for a frequency analyzer, like, or a spectrum analyzer? And
Ritsu is the best piece of equipment on the market.
And it's awesome. And what was the frequency? Where was it found? The lunar wave. Do you know what the hertz was?
Oh, no. Yeah, no, I have no idea anything about the lunar wave, man. As far as like what frequency they're working with or whatever.
Okay, cool.
But the thing about the lunar wave is really interesting, man. I remember when Crow came out with the original stuff that he was doing. I hadn't really paid much attention to him again until you guys all had him on last week. And he's a good dude. But yeah, I've seen some of that lunar wave, and it's very, it's interesting. It's really interesting. Really.
Where do you think it's occurring? We were just debating that. Where do you think the wave function that we see that? Where do you think it's occurring?
Well, I don't know, man. See, the thing is like, for the most part, the atmosphere is a bunch of water that we can't see. I mean, for all we know, we could be almost like fish.
Well, let's break it down to hertz, though, man. If we're a circle or a plane, I would say that this stuff's happening, Jimmy, at around like 20,000 hertz. I'd say it'd be a definitely like a high frequency noise. What about you?
Well, there's a difference between music and frequencies inside your EQ and frequencies that are running around out in space in the universe for you to look at with your spectrum analyzer.
So that's the other point, James.
So like,
I would say.
So like 20, when you say 20,000 hertz, and it's like, okay, so 20,000 hertz being broadcast at what power?
Oh, I mean, going in from there, obviously, that's your starting point is a higher range, and then I'd use all kinds, probably like 8 or 9 different filters to go hunting up in that quadrant. And when I say like the spectrum, I mean like.
Well, so are you talking about facility generated energy? In other words, frequencies that come from the facility that makes the Earth function.
I'm saying that,
like, for example, like
I'm talking just straight science, and well, not science, but straight principle and rules of audio and in terms of waves and energy at any level. So I take the flat Earth stance. I believe we're a motionless flat plane. I do still believe we're
on that point.
But, can I? Yeah, but even on that point, hang on one second. Just let me come in here on this, because this is important. What you're saying is very important. Mm-hmm. Okay, so irrespective, what we're talking about what we know or what we've been given as the formula for how things work. In other words, electricity works via Ohm's law.
Yes.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So you have ways of calculating, power and frequency and how much signal you actually have. And so the signals that are coming through on this recording are these Earth-based frequencies, like, for example, the Schumann resonance at 7 point whatever it is. I forget what it is. I think it's 7.4 hertz or something. It's super low frequency that just always pulses through the Earth.
That again is this, and maybe you guys could help me there. Is this resonance frequency that what we're seeing is a lunar wave? We're visually seeing a ripple in something, and
well, that's what I was saying. I was saying that if the atmosphere is mostly water,
So
Okay?
for
And
this to happen,
there's a pulse that happens from the Earth for whatever reason. I don't know why the pulse happens or why the machines.
And
So
I'm
that
saying
pulse
that pulse
happens.
has a certain frequency and a
Right.
certain
So maybe
location
maybe
over
you
the
found,
plane.
yeah, maybe you found the frequency that causes that when that. See, what I'm saying, what I'm saying doesn't have to do with the shape. What I'm saying has to do with the concept. And for me, the concept is this. There's some sort of universe that shows to us that's being projected from something, somewhere. And to me, I think the eclipse, when the eclipse happens, it's the master clock reset of all those positions of that projection. So it's like, if you had a stopwatch running for, days and hours and whatever, and then eventually the race ended and you push the button on the stopwatch and all the hands, the hours, the seconds, and the days would all spin around and then land back up at the midnight position. And then you'd be ready again to hit the button and start the next clock to roll.
Without wanting to sound like Mark Sargent, but do you mean like a screen refresh?
I guess so. I mean, if it's a screen, yeah. But I mean, like I'm saying, it's what's interesting is the amount of water that's in the atmosphere or the flatmosphere. And you know what I mean? Because like fish to us seem as though, when you pull a fish out of the water, it dies because it can't exist in this limited oxygen capacity for it. There's still plenty of water, but there's just not enough for it to breathe. And I think we exist in the next level of that water, whatever that is. I don't know what this stuff is. I'm just throwing it out there. This is stuff. When I hear you guys talking about this stuff, when I hear people talking about the shape and I hear people talking about the plane, these are the things that run through my mind. Because if you're saying, if you want to put forward the idea that maybe this is sort of like some sort of livable environment for whatever reason, a laboratory, whatever you want to say it is. I don't know, man. It's all interesting to me. But I would definitely be willing to talk to you off air about this.
Thunderstorms too.
I would definitely like to talk to you more about this aspect of the measurements off air, just simply because I just was coming in for a cup of coffee and I'm not sitting here with a bunch of stuff at my disposal that I could help you to answer your question. It's just that I think there's a lot of natural, whatever that means, in the facility. I think there's a lot of natural energies and frequencies that are present everywhere. And unless you know what to look for, they don't exist.
There's no need for validity. We're in the fringe, mate. It's all good. We're all just spitting ideas. You know what I mean? In terms of what we're. And
it's not any different than anything else, man. I mean, it's the thing is they base everything is based off of the speed of light, and technically, my friend, they've never. How can you measure the speed of light? What makes light go slower? What makes light only go so fast? They've only got the ability to measure it up to a certain point, and then beyond that, it's not that light's going slower. It's just that they can't measure how fast it actually goes. So if their whole fucking equation is flawed from the beginning because there is no measurement for the speed of light, period. So Einstein's whole thing is based on that. So if you find like a piece of flawed information in the very beginning part of how they want to theorize things work, then you gotta like from that point on say the rest of that shit is suspect. And that's what a bunch of people have done, you know, and they got this thing called, you know, quantum mechanics now, quantum physics, where basically they're saying that, you know, basically any kind of idea or concept you have causes some other universe to exist where that concept is completely valid and works. And it all happens at the same time. Past, present, and future all happen in the same exact moment. And so if that's the case, then us just having a conversation about this makes it real, right?
I find that kind of theoretical physics annoying.
I know, man.
Pompous
because it makes
religious.
I know, and because it makes every single concept that anybody could ever come up with that no one could prove valid.
Yeah, it's nonsense.
Right? So, oh, yeah, it's quantum physics. Yeah. It works because of this. Yeah.
It's an indictment of the avenues that the more mainstream physics has to go to keep with the paradigm that they're desperately clinging to. It's an excuse for me, those sorts of things, to allow them to stick. Actually, as outlandish as it sounds, it's allowing them to stick within the same paradigm, or even though they're supposition.
But everybody does stick into the same paradigm, though, because everybody. I'm saying everybody. This is a blanket statement. Anybody who's into any kind of information, whatever that information is, whatever their thing is, they're into it, and that's the thing that matters to them. And no other person's theory about what's happening is ever going to matter to them. You know, they're going to stay in that box.
Right, it's about shaking that box, isn't it? Isn't that where we bother?
Well, yeah, but I mean, I'm just saying, any made-up theory is just as valid as the next made-up theory. Yeah. So, I mean, you can't say that a guy's theory is made up. And
well, that's what.
Wait.
Just that, though.
I know, but you can't. You're right, but you can't say what happens a lot, not in the whole and truth community as a whole. What happens is, see, like, say somebody. I'm going to use this guy as an example, just because he's a blatant example. So let's say somebody's into Alex Jones's material, and then so they listen to Alex Jones, and they've listened to him for a while, and they've heard things that he said, and they've gone and checked it out. For the most part, everything he's saying checks out. So now they become a fan of that person, but they don't apply the same principles and formula about looking at stuff as they do on him. So that it's not you can't like look at information and have it make your point and then not look at this because it doesn't make your point. It either has to work for everything. You can't, in other words, murder's either wrong or it isn't. It's like there is no right reason for something. It's either wrong or it isn't. It's either right or it's wrong. And so if he's wrong on one point, then he's wrong. And you can't like go back to him later and pull him up and go, look, you know, it's like pulling quotes out of the Bible out of context to make a point. You can't use the science that you say is flawed. You can't use that same science to prove your point. If the science is flawed when you're looking at the guy's information or the scientist's information, it's flawed because he doesn't believe this or he doesn't believe that, so he's flawed, or whatever reason his information is flawed. But then later on, he says something that agrees with the person's point, and then they use that guy as a rag doll to say, hey, look at this scientist. He said, you know, the same thing I was saying, so that makes me right.
It really throws people off track, though, hey?
Well, yeah, I mean, because the thing is that means you got to throw out everything and come up with your own science and come up with your own way of proving your point. That doesn't rely, and that's impossible, right?
Well, that's what we're trying.
Yeah, man.
That's what we're trying. We're starting with our own repeatable, observable science, and just to pull it back a little bit, I think when we talk about this theoretical physics stuff, it's one of the things that, as a scientist, frustrates me as a flat earther, that actually to dare to suggest that the flat plane that we observe is actually flat is actually more outlandish than we have a parallel universe where all things are happening at the same time and all eventualities are occurring and playing out through infinity. It's one of the frustrating things that, as a true scientist, that actually mainstream science gives apologetics and allows for that kind of theory and would ridicule so much. Maybe it's a tell, as
I mean,
Herman would.
That's the thing though. It's like, the thing is if there's a lot of.
What the bleep do we know, Jimmy? What the bleep do we know?
I used to.
You seen that one?
Yeah, I used to go to that. Do you know the guy in there? His name's Reverend Michael Beckwith.
Dude, I had the workbooks and the manual that came.
Okay, well, I used to go to Reverend Michael Beckwith. He used to be at this church down in Los Angeles called Agape, and it's this religion basis called Science of Mind, and it's a non-denominational. And I used to go to his service every Wednesday because they had a superstar chorus there for the church on Sunday, because it was like big time, like big people, big stars used to go there. Yeah,
dude, so that's how what's his name hyped scientism. Ron Hubbard, Dianetics. Yeah, remember that?
Yeah, I know all about Dianetics, man.
So does Uncle Walt. Holy cow, so do I. I almost got roped right in and kidnapped by him. I'll tell you the story one day off air.
Well, I could tell you some hair-raising stories because I was down in Los Angeles for a long time. I could tell you all about a bunch of different stuff that goes on down there. But anyways, what were we talking about? Because now I was about to make a good point, and I forgot what I was about to say. Anybody remember?
You'd gone down to the
I went out into
non-denominational church.
I'm out in the weeds talking about Michael Beckwith. Yeah, no, the reason I was talking about him is because before he had those rainbow cornrows that he has in that movie, he was just a regular old guy. And I used to go listen to that guy, and literally that guy used to say some powerful stuff, to the point where like you would literally people would be sitting in that church literally crying their eyes out, man. And it wasn't because he was talking about Jesus or whatever. He's just Science of Mind, like I said, is non-denominational. They're just talking about principles and, that type of thing. So that guy's a powerful dude. So I'm glad he was in that movie. That guy was a really, really powerful person putting out good stuff for the people that are existing in this plane.
But, I mean, the content was utter nonsense. Although, just now, I just thought of the guy.
Well, what about the guy with the water?
Motivator.
Dude, what about the guy with the water, man? No. I'm talking about the water where you say, I hate you into the water and all the...
Oh, well, that's... I classify that more as a sympathetic and a synchronicity and an emotional connection to all living things.
Well, what about the cymetics? It ties right, but it ties right into what you're talking about. Cymetics ties right into the frequencies and the formation of these.
But it has nothing to do with parallel universes expanding and happening and looking and that part of the quantum mechanic lie. I don't like that.
Well, how do you know?
Because I've done a lot of research in it, and I've looked at a lot of different ways.
You may have researched stuff, but there's really, as much as you can research, there's really no way to definitively prove this point one way or the other. Because if you could prove that point, then you'd be, we'd all be flying around in your flying car that you invented, and we'd have.
Agree. It's my
for me, James. Tell me. Water experiment and the ice experiments, those sort of crystal, kind of demonstrate that we're shouting at it, whatever you're doing at it. But for me, they demonstrate that that frequency is too variable, and it's actually a frequency of intent as well.
The
What is
hug's
that?
coming. It's the big hug.
Let's see. It's not a sonic frequency that's occurring. This it's actually something on another dimensional level. Yeah, it's
energetic.
A frequency of the intent that you're passing into those molecules. That.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you guys what.
That too, Adam.
I'll tell you guys what. A personal story. All right.
Yeah, please.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So you know the pattern of the flower of life that's apparently, geometrically it's everywhere.
The lily, man, of course. It's on King Solomon's temple.
All right, perfect. Great. I'm glad you know about it. So then what I have to tell you will make sense to you. Okay, so you all know that I had, I went through cancer treatment and I went through that all thing, and I, kind of had to, work my way back from all that. And on my way back from that, after the treatment was all over with and everything, I was still taking a bunch of different medicines for different ailments I was still having. And so I had gone through this period where I quit taking everything, and I was just doing meditation and medical cannabis. And so one night I was sitting and I was doing this meditation, and so I was sitting there and I was in the dark, and it was at night, and I had my eyes closed, and I was on my studio, and I was sitting there and I was meditating, and I could see in the distance this light, and in the distance. And so what I was doing is my eyes were closed, but I was focusing my inner eye on that light. And I kept focusing on it. And as I focused on it, it got closer and closer. So when it was starting out, it was like the size of a pin. And then it started to get closer and closer and closer. And as it got closer, it got bigger in size, but it wasn't defined as far as the shape goes. So as it started to get closer, and I was concentrating with all my might on this. And as it started to get closer and closer, I looked and I realized that I could see these lines that were going through it. I could see these definite geometric, like right angles, left angles. I could see lines. And as I started looking at it, I realized that what I was looking at was the Merkaba. And as I started staring at it, all of a sudden, in the back of my mind, I got this feeling that if I keep staring at this any longer, if I remain to stare at this any longer, I'm going to die right now. And I woke up out of it right in that moment. And I woke up and I was like, I was face down on the floor. I was sitting on the couch when I started out. I was face down on the floor. I literally had, urinated all over myself, and I had pulled, I sweated through my clothes to the point where my shirt was soaking wet, and I had it pulled it off like halfway over the top of my head. Wow. So, it was a pretty intense experience. And I mean, I had a lot of experiences similar to that, going through the other parts of what I went through as far as the actual cancer treatment and the taking the chemotherapy and having my DNA changed and having, those chemicals released into my body, but I still survived. I was still, I'm still here for whatever reason. And I went through all that. So I knew that when I was going to get that chemotherapy, like the night before the very first dose of that, I knew after that I'd never be the same. I wouldn't be the same person anymore. And I was right, because that stuff changed me. It changed a lot about me too. because of the stuff that I went through. You know, the thing is like, you know, you can go. The thing is, man, you know, you hear this saying about like you can stare into the abyss, but don't stare too long because you become the abyss.
Right.
You know, that's true. You know,
Stare too long, the abyss stares back, or something like that.
Yeah, that's true, man. You know, I mean, I was in the abyss when I went through that treatment. You know, and I came out the other side of that, and I didn't leave the lessons that I learned behind when I went there. But here's the thing, and it's true. You know, you hear this saying about, you know, going through the eye of the needle. That's the truth. You know, when you want to, the thing is, it's like, you know, is being able to live. I mean, in other words, when you get to live, is that a blessing or a curse? You know, the thing is like, you don't really know what's on the other side. You know, you only know what you know here. And so given the opportunity to go there, I mean, that might be a better opportunity or better place to be, but you never really know. So you got to cling to what you know. And so I didn't want to go there. I wanted to stay here.
Huh.
So the eye of the needle, I couldn't bring any of my stuff with me. So I had a successful company. I had all this stuff. I had all the toys, man. I had the good looking wife or whatever. And, you know, on the other side of that, I had to just come out of the other side of that and just be okay with being alive. And so that's where that being grateful, that's where that thing about it can't get no better comes from. Because I'm grateful to be able to have an opportunity every time I open my eyes and wake up that day that I got another day. And I'm grateful for however that day is, even if it's even if it's a crappy day. And I say it can't get no better. It doesn't mean that I have some positive attitude, you know, that I'm looking at the crappy day and thinking, oh, you know, it's going to get better. It's not that. But what it is that I say that I'm okay with it being this way. And if it's going to be this way, then I'm going to be as happy as I can in this situation. I'm going to be the best person that I can be, regardless of whatever the situation is. So you can just pick me up and drop me wherever you want in the world, and I'll be the same no matter what happens to me.
Jimmy, I'm going to head out, but you said that phrase, and us guys have taken it to heart a bit since we.
Yes, we are, sir.
We chatted.
That's why I brought that in.
Yeah, I'd say I'd reflected on it, and wherever your life is, I think you stop yourself saying the word. It's more an opportunity, and I think it's the way I try to view it. Try, because life's a bitch, yeah. But I suppose the way to reconcile that is to try that it's not an opportunity for physical gain or pleasure or anything. It's an opportunity for spiritual learning. So
yeah,
the kick in the nuts is actually the biggest gift, I suppose, is a cynical way of
I'm doing this thing for this customer right now, and he's got this really cool website, and one of the categories in there is this thing called super agers. And it's these people that live really long lives, and they appear to be young most of their lives, all the way through till, you know, they get super old. And one of the qualities everybody thinks is to ascend, pass, or transcend the difficulties. But one of the main reasons these people are super agers is because of the difficulties. In other words, the more difficulties they had, the younger they looked and the longer they lived. Because they overcame those difficulties and they became stronger.
Wow.
Yeah, it's powerful stuff, man.
I don't know. I'm so lost. I'm Mandela. I thought we did a live show before, but apparently we didn't. But for those of you who forget, and if I even forget, and if I've forgotten, dude, I've recently won a battle with cancer, and I have gone through chemotherapy.
Nice.
And I was in the abyss, not nice.
No, I'm saying nice. I'm saying nice that you recently went through a bout and you went through it and you're here to talk about it.
Yeah, like I cannot actually believe that you're talking about chemotherapy, and I literally went through it, and I'll never be the same. I know I'm not the same. I'm totally different.
And the reason I talk about it, man, is to let people, I mean, it's not that I'm not fixated on it. I'm past it. I didn't let them give me the things that wouldn't let me get through it psychologically. I went through it and now I'm through it. But mostly the reason I talk about it is so people understand that they can go through it and still live. And you can make that decision to go down that route. Because some people, you got to make a decision based on something. Okay? I made my decision based on statistics. There could be 1 million people that got 1 million testimonies about what they cured and didn't cure. But the only place there's statistics is behind these medicines that they have that people have actually survived.
And it's totally different when the doctor is telling you, not some guy in a paper or somebody on an advert or somebody you read about. It's like it pressures on. You need to make a decision and take action. I mean, we had a fellow on, I don't know if you caught the Alan Clark show, and he was talking, he's a cancer guy too, and he was talking about the diagnosis and what that guy fought through and the odds, and, you know, just a real feel-good story. And it just amazes me how many of us there actually are that are beaten just down. And I mean, I've had other hardships, and everybody in this crew's had hardships, but it's funny, we're pretty strong, all of us too. I mean, we may, I like the sound of getting older or super age. I like the sound of.
Well, hey, I'll turn you on to this website. If you want to go to this, I would recommend you check it out. It's really cool. It's called Ideagram, GRAM, ideagram.co. It's free. And if you're smart, you guys are all super smart. And there's a place in there where you can enter in your own ideagrams. And when you see the ideagrams that Dennis put together, I've known this guy since I was a little boy. When I was about 10 years old, I used to go over this guy's house and do work for him on blueprints. He does a thing called PERT CPM, critical path method. And it's a way to, it's a way to start a plan from beginning to end with all the different, now it's known as a flow chart. But there's a lot more to just than putting bubbles off a line. And so he basically downloaded all his information onto this website. And right now I'm working with him to help him sort of get it going. So I'm doing a couple of videos for him as demos, and then he may give me the job. But yeah, so I'm doing a demo on the Super Ager. So I just happen to have that information at my fingertips right now. But if you guys go there, and take a look at some of those, go under authors, and then when you get in the authors section, click on, there's a dude in there named Kitch, John Kitch. Click on that section. That's the Super Ager section. There's a really cool kombucha recipe. But basically what he does is he breaks down, for example, in the authors section, there's a bunch of different authors. So in one of those authors is the Dalai Lama. So he has an ideagram or a flow chart of the Dalai Lama's philosophies. And so there's a flow chart right there of the Dalai Lama. So you can instead of reading everything the Dalai Lama ever did, you could go look at that flow chart and basically have all the information, the big bullet points all right there. And what's really cool about that Dalai Lama one is it's really a simple ideagram compared to the other ones that are where he goes through like a whole book and breaks down whatever that book is. And what he's trying to do, awesome. It's awesome. What he's trying to do is give people who have never heard of it a way to solve problems, a logical way to take a situation, a problem, or anything and just sort of break it down in a simple, easy way and, be able to assimilate the information. So it's a really cool thing. I recommend it. It's free, like I said. And pretty soon, hopefully, if he hires me up, I'll have a couple of cool things. His website's kind of old school. There's no flashing stuff going on. There's no videos. There's no pop-up ads. There's really nothing there. It's a flat screen, and it's up to you to sort of just click on the categories. At first, I didn't really like it. At first, I didn't like it, but man, actually, it's nice and quiet, man. It's kind of like a little meditation spot on the internet to just go on that website with all the flashing stuff going on. So I hope you guys get value out of it.
Strain? What was the
I'm
strain?
looking at it right now.
What was the Blue Dream that changed it for you? And what you said at the beginning, cannabis really like helped. What was your strain?
Well, it really just depends. I live here, and I still live in Northern California. I live in Santa Cruz Mountains, and so
you get
so most of my friends, they have medical growing operations in the mountains. So as far as the way it works here, before it's about to go legal in 30 days here. So, but the way it worked in the past was if you were a medical card holder, you basically park your card with somebody that has a grow operation. So each card you're able to have 25 plants per card. And so you take your recommendation and hang it with a farm. So
you can do that here too, where I'm at.
Yeah. So it's like a collective, and then, you kind of get, cut rate prices, whatnot.
One of the things that I've thought about, Jimmy, is doing
Blue
a
Dream
show where we could, Blue Dream's great, but talking about the specific highlights of each strain for each of the phases that I was going through during chemo, because there were different things. I mean, the Jack Hare got me out.
Yeah, that's key, dude.
The another strain helped me get the nausea under control, and
that's key.
It was
you know what?
The Violator Kush that put me out at night.
That's a really cool idea that you should definitely put together, dude. Would
you be interested in taking part in a show like that with me?
I totally would.
Cool.
Hey, check this out, man. I got a whole. You know what I did? They wouldn't let me because I was holistic in nature before I went to this treatment. In other words, I didn't really go the Western medicine route, but they wouldn't let me take any, as you know, but the audience or other people might not know that when you're taking the chemotherapy medicine, the doctors won't let you take any vitamins and stuff. They don't want you. They're trying to kill. They're trying to kill your system. So they don't want you to.
It was a big shock to me.
Yeah. So, but here's what I did, man. Check this out. And this is what we could teach other people to do. I was going to put something together on this. What I did was I only ate the foods that prevented cancer. Okay. So I got this book where, all the things in it were cancer preventing, different nuts and this and that and the other thing. So everything I ate, cancer preventing foods. And when I was feeling sick and nauseous, dude, this is the key, dude. Watermelon.
Oh, dude, watermelon, you're killing it, brother.
You know why?
I was laying on the floor of the bathroom, man, and spinning around. Watermelon is literally the only thing I could sink my teeth in Jello, because it's so hydrating, it's so pleasing, and it's just a lifesaver.
It fills your gut. Right. Dude, it fills your gut, and when you gotta puke it back up, it's just nothing. So watermelon's key. Watermelon, not a lot of people know about it, man. But anybody who's got someone going through cancer, they're going through chemo.
That was actually a nurse that had been through chemo 3 times that told me about that, and another recipe that really helped too. That's funny you mentioned that, the watermelon trick.
Yeah, so my last appointment that I went to, I was lucky enough to go to Stanford Hospital, Stanford, California, and my doctor was one of the key doctors in lymphoma treatment, and the chemotherapy that I took was called Stanford 5. And the guy that developed the chemo, my last appointment was the actual guy, the guy that put the formula together that came in to see me. He was like this old German guy, like he didn't barely even speak English. And he on his way out the door, he told me he was the guy that developed it. And I like grabbed him and gave him a
Thanked
hug.
him. Yo,
I gave him a hug, you know, and you should have saw him. You should have saw him like he wasn't even expecting it.
Did
like
you ring the bell and go grab him or what?
Yeah, no, I grabbed him. Yeah, I rang the bell.
Nice, buddy. We don't want to bore everybody with cancer talk. I've moved on to you got
now.
Well, you guys are not boring us at all. It's
not
I'm
boring.
excited to do a strange show so we can help people, dude. We can dial it in. It's very. There was a guy we had on, man, and I hope we get Chris back on too. But there's a guy. He's an Australian or South African, and he's working on studies and looking at people. It is getting so specific, you can dial it into an exact condition on chemo or, you know, specific treatment of other diseases. Genetically, they're matching up strains for it. And I mean,
there's
it's
a whole,
awesome.
See, that's something that, I mean, that's the kind of stuff, doing shows like that, man. Those are the kind of shows that make a difference in the world. Like you could, because you can always go back to it and someone can always reference it if they're going through it. Because I was going to say, everybody, it's not, you know, you were saying, hey, it might be boring or whatever. It ain't boring, dude. And you know why? Because out of 4 people, 3 out of the 4 are going to get cancer.
That's crazy, man.
I know.
It's true, though.
It's almost like every other person will get it. So if I'm in a room with somebody else and I had it, and then they might not get it, but chances are they're going to get it too.
Well,
so what we're saying either affects people directly, or everybody listening to this show with 100% guarantee knows somebody who's gone through cancer treatment.
Everybody knows somebody somewhere.
James, you know, you're belittling yourself there, mate, because from a pharmacist's point of view, what you're describing there is actually using the different cannabinoids to beneficial effects. And you use the term strain, but we're talking about isolating things that have separate medicinal qualities that enable a functionality of life. Now, some people would, in the old school, would call them uppers and downers. I think you kind of described it a bit. These are all things that are acting on a cellular level to elicit the same level of functionality that much harder and more damaging drugs people have to use.
It's literally now to the point where you don't even have to get a psychological. You don't have to get any kind of buzz from it at all. It's literally to the point now where they figured out how it works with your DNA and how it works with these cannabinoid receptors. And they've pretty much got it dialed in that you literally don't even have to catch them. I mean, I like catching the buzz, but, you know, some people might not like it.
Oh, man. One of the award winners, it's Canadians. Obviously, they have good gardening skills, but it's the 1 to 25 ratio. So they have one that's less than 1% THC and 25% CBD. They call it Canatonic.
James, I'm just going to say my goodbyes because I shall listen to the rest of this eagerly tomorrow. But I've got football with my lad in the morning, and it's getting on for 2:00. So
you're gonna do some little guy.
Yeah, tell him. Watch the toe.
You're gonna monitor the broadcast to see what the New World Order is doing. You know how everybody says that? Everybody in the truth community, every time they watch TV, they're really just watching TV, or they really just want to see the game, but they always say shit like, yeah, I got to monitor the I was monitoring the mainstream to find out what was going on.
Sadly, I've got to run the line, unfortunately, as a line. So it's
well, Adam.
It's nothing.
That'll be fun.
It's getting cold and all. So
oh man,
Yeah, but guys, Jimmy, it's been a real pleasure, mate. Good to chat with you again. And
hey, same here.
guys,
Thank you so much for inviting me too. I appreciate. I'm sorry if I've been a filler buster in for the last fucking 2 hours or whatever it is. Sorry, man.
It's been a real good chat. I love the way a Friday night goes. You don't know where we started with Ben Humming and we've ended up with yourself, and it's just Timmy to drop in. That's it. That's a finish, isn't it? But mate, again, guys, it's been a pleasure, and I'll catch you all soon. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Good luck tomorrow, man.
Thanks. God bless, guys.
You cheeky bastard.
All right. So in about 7 minutes, that'll put us at the 4-hour mark.
All right. So you guys gonna shut her down? You guys gonna shut her down?
Pull the plug. Pull the pin, bro.
All right. Well, I think that's a really good idea. And Josh, you know, Walt, you guys could get a hold of me.
Absolutely, brother.
To do the cannabis cancer show thing. Be more than happy.
Be really good fun. How's the by the way, now that we have you, on the other note, how's the award show going for the end of the year on the TV?
I'm not doing too much on it right now. It's just kind of a placeholder right now because
we'll basically talk more off the air because it's kind of
right now it's ready to go. I mean, I just really haven't promoted it, and it's mostly just because I'm busy with other stuff right now. But it exists, and I put it out there. Okay, so it does exist, and it is. I mean, the deadline is December 15th for submissions. I haven't even gone and checked the email to see, but I haven't put out the submission address for a long time. So I'm just kind of holding tight right now on it, and haven't really moved forward yet. I mean, at this point.
Sorry to put you on the spot, man. Sorry.
No, it's not. No, I'm not on the spot. I feel good. No problem. I mean, just off the cuff, I'd say at this point, I'd still do the award show, even if no one else got into it with me and did it with me and got involved and, voted for anybody. Because at the point that the day comes when that show is supposed to happen, if I want to do that show, then I'll just pick who I think is the radio talk show of the year. And I'll just do what I think. And then I don't have to worry about anything else. I won't generate any money or anything this year. But next year it'll be way better because I'll have a whole year to put it together. This year I needed to get it out in my name because I kind of talked about it in a couple of circles. And I was a little bit uncomfortable that it might find its way out there without me involved. So I needed to get mine rolling, so to speak.
Yep. I hear you.
All right.
Oh, what a show, guys. Thanks.
You guys are kicking ass, man. Thanks a lot for having me on. I'm really stoked. And anytime if I'm around and you want somebody to come on in, let me know.
And right back at you, my friend. Thank you so much.
Hey, one more thing before we go.
You betcha.
Tonight on Into the Microcosm at 12 p.m. Pacific time, I'm going to be doing my first episode of the Star Trek Archaeologist, where I'm going to dissect the original series of Star Trek, each episode, and find the alchemical self-help mechanism that was buried in there and bring it out in the open for everybody to benefit from. So if you got nothing to do, stop on by. I think I got a pretty good Night Owl theater that's going to probably run the first 10 minutes. And after that, it's all about self-help in a good way for everybody. And I'm going to throw some entertaining anecdotes in there as well.
So you almost, if when you do TNG, man, I'm there.
Right on.
All right, Jimmy G, thanks so much for coming on.
Hey, anytime, brothers. You guys are kicking ass, man.
All right, good luck tonight too.
Hey, thanks a lot.
Be awake to listen, but I'll catch you on the play.
Yeah, you never know though. My vibe might go out into the ether and penetrate and wake your ass up. I'll be shooting you some frequencies.
Bouncing.
I'll be shooting you the truth frequency.
Here it is.
I'll be shooting you the truth frequency on Truth Frequency Radio.
The true serum, Mike.
And I think you're at 12 a.m. Not
Yeah,
PM.
midnight.
Yeah, midnight. There you go.
In
Better.
the middle of the night, the witching hour.